Yeah, welcome to.
I love your picture when it comes up on the call. You're looking up at the screen like a supermodel, like a Zoolander.
We're gonna have to ask that last question again. This what did you call this? Lo-fi budget? Is that what you said?
I call it no budget.
No budget. Yeah.
Lo-fi podcast or whatever webcast.
But yeah, I just asked how y'all done the interview process. Was it all you? Was it all Rich? Was it collaboration? Go ahead and take.
Collaborated on questions. We collaborated on questions, Adam, and then Rich would conduct the interview, and I would work with the camera woman and cameraman. I had two buddies help me in because you have to frame it differently for different questions, so it'll edit and not look the same all the time. And then if I had a question or they weren't getting to the point fast enough, I would just interrupt. Or tell us a story about so-and-so. And then a handful of comedians, I went by myself with a little camcorder. When Rich was writing, he's writing a book on the history of stand-up.
Oh, he's writing it now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's been working on it for years. But since the movie, Rich Scheidner is a working comedian where he just headlined the Atlanta Punchline, and then he went down to Jacksonville to some comedy club headlining. Like, he went from zero to headliner in less than 8 months.
See,
which is insane.
I talked to him on the phone day before yesterday. He's going to sit down and do one of these with me, and I didn't know he was writing a book, but you just gave me a good topic to ask.
Oh, yeah.
But that's one thing I loved about the documentary as well. Him just seeing the growth of him. He starts out at that open mic, and his material, it was in development, and
you're so fucking polite. It sucked. He didn't even have a joke for him. He had like a premise that he would bail on.
Yeah. But he riffed on the room, and he was getting his fill, and then by the end of the movie, I don't mean to spoil it for people, but when he's at the Laugh Factory, that
he kills.
And not only did he kill, but the bit he done it, you see the growth of it, like the marijuana thing. You hear the structural change and everything, and I thought that was beautiful because that showed just the growth that a lot of people don't see in people's acts.
Well, you would have to follow a comedian, which would mean you wouldn't really have a job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to do what we did with the documentary as a fan of comedy, you're either a psycho stalker or you're out of work bum, and you see way too much comedy.
So you're a psycho stalker then? Is that what you're saying?
I was a psycho stalker. I got to tell you, if for your fans, when they're looking at this DVD that they got October 12th, they're going to be happy that there's a narrative structure to the film. And Rich Scheidner is the narrative structure. And I say, God bless this guy, man. We started by just interviewing comics. Now, we knew it was going to be about the comics lifestyle and what I called it, the working comedian. One title was Occupation Comic.
Mm-hmm.
Like what the job of being a comedian was like. And as we're interviewing people, and Rich is conducting these interviews, he's getting a little antsy talking to his peers. Because, I mean, back in the day, at Greensboro, North Carolina Comedy Zone, Rich Scheidner was the shit. When you were at a club, you didn't care about doing Letterman or The Tonight Show, or getting your HBO special. Rich had all that. You cared about that performance.
Yeah.
So you riffed on the room. You talked to the audience. You did your solid material and just crafted it all to be a show. And Rich Scheidner, one of the best. And I remember I opened for him a couple times on the road and just sat back and watched him do an hour and a half on stage. So it was quite surprising that he had stopped doing stand-up. And as we're doing the interviews for I'm Comic, or we would watch some, specifically in New York City, we watched comics, after we interviewed him in the day, we just had some nachos and margaritas at the club watching the show, and he left. He couldn't mentally take it being back in that room and not getting laughs. So I told him, you have to do stand-up again, whether it's for the movie or for your sanity, you have to do stand-up. So we signed him up at the open mic night, and that became the narrative thread of the movie. Anybody could follow a young comic, right?
Yeah.
I could follow the very crass and cringeful Adam Alred. But why? Did I get your name right? Alred?
Nope, it's all red.
Alred. Alred makes it sound a little more highfalutin. All red's going to put you in the country category.
Well, in Florida, I was listed as Adam Alfred, so they got an F somewhere. I don't know where they found it, but they got it.
I don't see an F.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, I know that was a long bit to explain that Rich got suckered back in by the thing when you first called me, you said, that first laugh is so important. Rich missed that first laugh and that, 200,000th laugh. And he had to get back in. He's an addict to comedy.
Oh, you seen it even after that first open mic that we just talked about that he went to. You see it as soon as he walked out of the club. He had that, man, I just got on set. He had that whole excitement about it. And
how often do you do stand up?
I try to go at least 2 to 3 times a week if I can.
What happens if you don't? What happens if you don't do it? Do you get irritable?
Yeah, I do. It's like I feel like I really miss it. I should be doing it. Like, but I don't have a show tonight, and by that I'm gonna be the rest of the day. I'm gonna be thinking about why don't I have a show tonight?
Right. Is there and do you have a day gig?
No, right now I'm just doing the comedy. I was working.
You're a comedian. You don't have. Even if you have a day job, you're still a comedian. But this is your life.
This is
there a plan B for you, Adam?
Just failure if it don't work.
There is no plan B. There is no option.
Yeah.
Dana Gould is a prolific comedian, and he took 7 years off writing for The Simpsons, which is, writing for comedy is an extension of being a comedian. But he still had to come back. And he said, I don't do it because I want to. I do it because I have to.
Yeah.
And
there's so much truth in that. There's so much truth in that. I think you get that feeling from the first time you get on stage, though, or maybe even especially the first time you get on stage, because we spoke earlier. I didn't record it earlier when we were talking about it, but when I got on stage my first time, I got a laugh at the opening of my set and one at the end of my set. In between, it was kind of just But being that I got those laughs, even though it wasn't enough, I walked off that stage saying, man, I wanted to make them laugh more than that. It
was enough to get you back.
Exactly. It was enough to make me want to do better, too.
You know who's just like the comedian?
Who?
The pole dancer.
The pole
dancer? The stripper. Strippers and comedians have a history together. Because back in the 60s, comedians would open up for strippers. Or the comedian would be the entertainment between the strippers.
Yeah.
Almost like a sexual sorbet. Right? So that after Bambi was done, and before Candace came up, the comedian would come out and tell some jokes. And the club owner knew that no one wanted the comedian. And in fact, I remember in D.C. there was a club in the 80s that you still did a couple of sets at the strip club below, and then you go up to the comedy club. But I wonder if the stripper has the same thing. They do that pole dance, and when they get off, they feel the love, and they got the men staring at them and throwing the dollar bills up there. I wonder if they feel the same thing, like, I got to do it again.
Well, yeah, because their addiction is cocaine, so...